starring Heath Ledger, Mark Addy, and Shannon Sassamon. No, we are not talking about A Knight's Tale. We are talking about the 2003 movie Sin Eater, also known as The Order, which revolves around the investigation of a suspicious death of an excommunicated priest and the discovery of a Sin Eater residing in Rome. This is my spoiler review of Sin Eater / The Order from 2003. So this film is very much in the same vein as Constantine, but just worse. We already know my opinion. We saw a trailer for this when we were watching another film, and it looked really, really interesting. So we looked everywhere for this film, and we finally brought it on DVD, and we got around to watching it the other day. Obviously, it's got the same director as A Knight's Tale, and it stars Heath, Mark, and Shannon. Again, all from The Knight's Tale. So when I saw all these characters, I must admit that when I was watching it, I was expecting some Knight's Tale jokes. I was thinking to myself, oh, this is going to happen. Oh, wait, no, wrong film. So I was excited to see the chemistry on screen. However, it did not land like it does in A Knight's Tale. A Knight's Tale is just perfect. It's an amazing film. Their chemistry on this film didn't seem to have that level at all. It was kind of like they had just met, or like this was their first film together, so it was a bit weird. The first 10 minutes of this film was okay. The story concept is intriguing. So you've got this excommunicated priest is killed. You don't see how he's killed or anything like that, you just hear his screams. Heath Ledger's character Alex has to go to Rome to find out what happened to him, and they come across the history of a Sin Eater, and it's all about destroying this Sin Eater. And then you've got Mara, who is played by Shannon. She is someone who was possessed at one point, and Alex did a exorcism on her, and that was that. They became friends after that. And Mark Addy's character is another priest that is friends with Alex. So they all go to Rome to find out what happened. So then they come across this idea of a Sin Eater, which is as it sounds. They eat your sins. So basically they eat your sins so that you can pass on and go to heaven rather than go to hell. So they take all your sins and they live forever. And then so you've got this one Sin Eater that's going around doing this, and it's all about like a higher conspiracy and a higher secrecy. And they've got to try and work out who the Sin Eater is, why this stuff's happening, and who's involved, who's not involved, and come to the bottom of it all, basically. I want to point out that Mark Addy's Irish accent in this movie is atrocious. Like, that man can act. I've seen him act. We know he can act. He can't do Irish. Again, their chemistry on screen together isn't great. There's just like an awkwardness, which I wouldn't expect from them doing A Knight's Tale together, because there was no awkwardness in that. To me, their acting in that was absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved that film. I think it was more to do with the script and the actual story itself, because although the story itself sounds intriguing, it didn't get portrayed that way. The final product didn't come out that way. The script was lackluster. It was weak. Nothing seemed to flow. Like, the words they were actually, like, the conversation they were having with each other didn't seem natural at all, in the sense of how you would reply to someone saying something. It was too robotic. It was as if an AI had created this movie, but obviously in 2003 we didn't have that. But if it came out now, that's what people would be saying about it, that AI created this script. From the moment we find out who the Sin Eater is, that's when the film seems to go downhill for me, because there's just, after that moment, the story seems to stop flowing. Like, we found out who the Sin Eater is, oh, that's it, now we're just, yeah, okay, we're unfolding this conspiracy theory, but we already know what it is. It's just the fact that our main character doesn't know what it is, but as his audience we do, and so that doesn't flow. There's really random cutscenes. Like, it looks like an edited YouTube video. It looks like how I edit my YouTube video when you can see there's a cut, but worse, in the sense of it cuts from one whole scene to a different location with a different person, and it's kind of like, it's not flowing. There's no fluidity to it. It doesn't look right. And therefore you're kind of taken out of the story, you're detached from it, and then you're really not interested in finding out what's going on. I spent most of the time actually looking up if Shannon was pregnant during this film, because there were moments I noticed with how the camera was angled, and also being a mum myself, I can kind of tell when the way you stand when you get up and stuff from being pregnant. I was like, she's pregnant in this film, she's got to be. Certain shots they had of her doing in Knight's Tale to show off how beautiful she is, they did not do in this film. Yet in the end of this film, they ended up having a relationship. So I was like Googling and stuff and found out that I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, that she was pregnant whilst filming this film. It came out in cinemas in 2003 and she had a child in 2003. Therefore, she should be pregnant when filming, but I don't know. But it was that boring that I was Googling that. The acting isn't great in this, and like I said already, we know that these people can act. It's Heath Ledger, it's Mark Addy. These people can act. Heath Ledger is a legend, rest his soul. And they just looked like they kind of didn't really want to put in effort. Like, they read the script and was like, oh, this is going to be a bad film, so we don't really need to put in all our work because nothing's going to make this any better. And then everything started to unravel. It diverted from the story we were going with, and we found out, like, basically the whole plot was to get a certain somebody to take over the Pope, so that he could become Pope. When he was already Pope of his organization and his religion, but he wanted to be the Pope. It really did have potential. There were moments when I was like, oh, this is like Constantine. Constantine, such a great film. And it was in sense of, like, you know, taking souls, and it was just the whole vibe in itself, but it was just an utter fail of Constantine. And it had so much potential. So the effects were lackluster and really bad. There were moments where you could clearly tell there was CGI, and it was, again, just for 2003, I know we can do better, and from these people that did it, I know they can do better. It was just such a letdown. I think at this point we had already watched Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and thought to ourselves, you know, you can't get any worse than that film. So we watched this one, and it was kind of like, although it was obviously better than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, but we were still having that feeling of just like a letdown. And it's just, oh my god, look, we can do better in this time. You can write better, we know you can. You can act better, we know you can. Why are you not doing this? The one thing I did like, though, is the whole concept of the sin eater itself. So basically, with this, he eats your sins so that you can pass on. So technically you can argue that he's doing a good deed to some extent, because some people, they might have done like a small sin that in the grand scheme of things isn't really hell worthy, and he takes your sins so that you can go to heaven. And the thing I liked about him was that taking people's sins actually hurts the sin eater more. So he's putting himself through pain and anguish because he has all these sins. He can see all these sins. He can see your past and your pain, and he can feel it. So it's not like he's doing it for fun because he wants to. He's doing it for people. So I thought that was kind of like a cool change on what would basically be cast as someone eating your sins and, you know, murdering you potentially. But the whole thing with the Sin Eater is he wants to die. He doesn't want to be the Sin Eater anymore. He's lived thousands of years. He's loved, he's lost, he's in so much pain, and he wants it to be passed on to someone who has the same philosophy, so to speak, as he does. And that's where Heath Ledger's character comes in, is he wants Alex to take over to being the Soul Eater. Alex has decided that he no longer wants to be a priest. He's fell in love with Mara. And he kind of just wants to go about his life now. Put this to bed of the bigger conspiracy theory that's going on, and then kill the Sin Eater and then get on with his life. The Sin Eater, knowing that Alex doesn't want anything to do with this anymore and wants to be with Mara, knows that the only way to really get him on board is to kill Mara. He makes it look like Mara committed suicide because that's something she had tried to do before. And when William tries to take her soul, because obviously committing a suicide in their religion is sin, when he tries to take her sins so that she can go to heaven, he realised that it wasn't her that did it because there are no sins. She has no sins. She's resolved of all sin and therefore she's going to heaven. So that means that she couldn't have done it. Someone else had to do it, and that was the Sin Eater, William, who done it. So he goes to find William to kill William after what he did. What he doesn't realise is the ritual to kill a Sin Eater isn't actually the ritual to kill, it's actually the ritual to become a Sin Eater. So therefore, Alex now becomes the Sin Eater. I thought this was a bit weird because there was like no natural progression for Alex to become the Sin Eater at all, other than that final bit where William, the Sin Eater, had killed Mara, and then all of a sudden he starts becoming the Sin Eater. He goes and takes the sins and kills the guy who is now Pope after the conspiracy theory all worked out and he became Pope, all because it was his fault in the first place that Alex got dragged into all of this. So by the end, it was just like, oh yeah, so you became Pope for a little bit. I told everyone your secret, so now you're going to kill yourself and you want me to release you of your sins. Maybe not. And then that's the end of it. It's a very lackluster ending. The camera angles at the end, they looked more like an amateur had shot the film towards the end than any other part of this film, which was a real letdown, to be fair. Again, we know these people can do their job, so I don't see why it turned out the way it is. The trailer I saw for this film in the movie looked really, really intriguing, and you could see the points in this film where they were close. If they had just fleshed out that bit of story or that bit of narrative, or just made things look a bit better, even put in like maybe a good soundtrack, you know, to put things atmospherically on edge or tension, you could have really, really improved this film with just some small changes that would have been quite easy to fix. And you could have had a really Constantine-esque film with Heath Ledger in it, which I think would have worked, and I think fans would have been happy with. Just overall, this film really didn't hit the mark for me. It's not a film I'd rewatch, that's for sure, and I don't know if I'd say, I'd recommend it. Like, I mean, if you're into Constantine and stuff like that, then yeah, okay, watch it, but be prepared that it's like, literally, say Constantine's at 100%, Seneto / The Order is at probably about 10-15%, so just be prepared for what you're going into. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching this video and listening to me ramble on about how bad another film is. Hopefully I soon watch a film that I enjoy and I can review a good film. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and until the next one, guys, stay horrid.